If you're looking for a secure haven within the literary world, you found the perfect organization. Let's make magic together. Our space is specifically designed for African American authors who are passionate about their writings of films and books. It's a platform to stay informed about industry developments. And on Patreon, we'll share exclusive content, valuable resources, and engaging discussions and masterclasses on various subjects, ranging from film and publishing industry trends to wellness and business tips. So if you're ready to dive into this exciting community, become a member now. Welcome to our literary haven where creativity knows no bounds. Let's make magic together.
Good afternoon, good evening, good late night, good morning, creatives. I'm Dondi Darcy, and I am glad you all are here with me to enjoy, because she has it going on, how to write BIPOC chick lit. Thank you again for joining. And again, I am Dondi Darcy. I am your host, and I am having a few technical difficulties. There, I'm Dondi Darcy. This is my professional identity. Dondi is my given name. My corporate persona includes I am a career paralegal. That's my day gig. However, just like you all, I am a creative. And this is my creative identity. I write as C. Elise. That is one of my many pen names. It's my most common. My creative footprint includes a novella, as well as a very active Substack and Medium account, and hosting workshops with our Lit Diary friends here. Thank you for this creative opportunity to build community. And let's dive right in. So on the surface, chick lit is pretty much modern women's literature. It's contemporary, specifically because it focuses on the lives of women as they are now. It's woman-centric. It puts the woman as the protagonist, and usually with chick lit, the protagonist is going to be anywhere between the age of 20 to 60, because this appeals to women readers. The protagonist is going to be very, very relatable. So she's going to have lots of very close and genuine friendships. She's going to have some type of career, and we'll go more into the career later. And she will have romantic relationships, and we'll also go into that later. Typically, chick lit is written by women. But again, I want to point out there is such a thing as a pen name. So whether or not gentlemen are writing chick lit, we're not here to argue that point. We're just here to discuss what it is and how to write it from a more diverse perspective. Again, it's attracted to very smart women. And usually your protagonist is not only going to be relatable, but she's also going to be ethical. And all the problems that she faces are going to be central to pretty much every woman, regardless of race, color, creed, religious denomination, on and on and on. Now, let's get into a bit of the history. Chick lit itself has been around for a very long time. It goes back as far as the 1800s, when Jane Austen wrote Sense and Sensibility, because that book was pretty much about three sisters who were coming of age. Then we can fast forward to 1966, and there was a very popular book that was titled Valley of the Dolls. And the dolls were actually very successful and very young career women who had all relocated to Los Angeles, California, in search of fame and fortune. Then we can fast forward to 1992 with Terry McMillan and Waiting to Exhale. And honestly, some people argue And again, we're not here to argue, but a lot of people argue that the phrase chick lit was actually coined as a result of Terry McMillan writing Waiting to Exhale. As we know, most of Terry McMillan's books feature a single heterosexual woman who is very empowered, who is talented, who's healthy, both physically and mentally. And she's also extremely career-centric, independent, and sexually aware. So that gives you some clues as to how to BIPOC chick lit. If we scratch the surface a little further, you may wonder, why write chick lit of all the genres to write? Well, here's one reason why: because of the numbers. Since 1946, in the United States alone, women have outnumbered men. Right now, for every 98 men, there are 100 women. Today, in 2024, in the publishing industry, $23 billion is made every year. Of that 23 billion, 71 million is spent on the chick lit category. Now let's go a little bit further. If we look at writers overall, about 58% of them are women. 85% of writers are non-minorities. That means a lot of people are writing chick lit from the perspective of potentially BIPOC women, and they don't have experience with how we live. In addition, of the women who are writers, 45% of them write romance. And that's interesting because romance is technically a form of chick lit. But that also tells you that there's a lot of room for other more creative, outlets in the chick lit genre. And of all the writers that are women, about 15% of them are BIPOC. So again, I will state that there are a lot of people who are writing from our perspective who haven't actually lived our lives or our experiences. Now, for the past 40 years, women spend a minimum of 5 hours a week simply reading for pleasure. But women also account for 80% of the fiction sales. So of all the books sold, 80% in the fiction overall are sold to women. And when I say women, I mean every woman over the age of 16. So every woman over the age of 16 on average spends about $120 on books. That's opposed to about $70 that is spent by men ages 16 and above. So if you need any other reason to write chick lit, you have almost a guaranteed readership. And there is a lot of opportunity for you to create your way creatively, as well as to trend your creativity into potential money. So the science of writing chick lit, pretty much when it gets to the key elements, they're just like every other story. And you, the writer, know to have a great story, you need characters, you need setting, and you need plot. And more importantly, you need the story to be immersive because you want people to not put it down. You want it to be experiential. You want someone to feel as if they are taking part of what they're actually reading. And you want it to be vivid. No one wants to read anything dry or boring or just out and out, just something that is a snore fest. So again, we're here to talk about how to make it a little bit more diverse. So some of the considerations that you, the writer, want to throw in as you write. Again, this is female-oriented writing. It's literature. So it should mirror contemporary society, regardless as to where you fall on the BIPOC spectrum. You should make sure if your primary character is Latina, or Hispanic, that it should represent what is happening in that community from a contemporary perspective. It should speak personally to the women that you want to read your book. And it should also have relatable and very familiar choices that your characters are going to make. Because again, your target audience is women. You want this to be relationship focused. And that's why romance has an element of chick lit. It may or may not be all out romance, full on, she's out to get the guy or looking for the man of her dreams. But let's be honest, in contemporary society, regardless as to what your race is, if you're heterosexual, you are dating a guy or you're looking for a guy to date unless you're married. It's also going to include characters that do a lot of big spending. Now, how you define big spending is entirely up to you. You're the creative. And as creatives, we can create, again, an immersive experience. So regardless as to how much money is being spent, make sure that not only is it immersive, but it's also believable. Your primary character should have very strong characterization. So she's going to have some level, and maybe more than some level, of survival skills. She's not going to be a pushover, and she is not going to have friends that serve as a mother figure or a conscience. So that's something key to remember. And it's probably true of all of us with our genuine friends. We like them because they are different from us, but they aren't necessarily our mother, our big sister, or our aunt. The protagonist of your story is also going to be very relatable and should also align with your target audience. Now, the trick is you want to focus on personal challenges, but it's not necessarily going to be something that has you so, or your character so down and out that your entire story is just about the experience of that challenge. It has to be something that they are going to overcome. It's going to have a theme of supportive friendships or very supportive family. That's going to be central, and it's going to be crucial. Now, your settings are usually urban, but they're ultimately going to focus on the protagonist and how she finds her independence and her confidence. Now, an urban setting does not necessarily mean a derelict urban setting. So it doesn't necessarily, I'm not saying it has to be what we see on television every night on the news when an urban setting is portrayed. So urban, I mean, what is a central city to you, the author, you, the creative? That could be London. That could be Tokyo. That could be Rio. That could be Miami. It could be Chicago. It could be Atlanta. But it doesn't necessarily have to be the most urban, most drug infested, most crime infested setting that you can dream of. There's going to be drama. It's going to be tied to whatever expectation your protagonist has. That drama may include the protagonist's family, or it may include relationships. It may include friendships. It may include all three. That's entirely up to you as the creative. Now, it may or may not have a happy ending. If it does have a happy ending, it's probably going to be romance. If it doesn't have a happy ending, it's probably going to be very immersive and something that is very, very relatable. But I'm not saying that to say, or to dictate that in order for your story to be successful, it must not have a happy ending. Again, you are the creative. You bring me into whatever you want me to experience, and I will be happy to experience it. Now, your BIPOC chick lit may or may not reflect feminist views. That's entirely up to you as the author, but it will include a protagonist who is very identifiable because he or she is flawed, just like all humans are. Again, there will be a major conflict. That conflict can center around love, work, maturing, or maturity. It can center around yourself, the character's self-perception, their hybrid identity, the fact that they have to assimilate while they're at work. It can also be central to societal hardships. And let's face it, the times that we are living in, we all have a lot that we can glean from and write a wonderful chick lit story. There will include a relationship. And I want to say that the man in the relationship or the woman in the relationship, it is the 21st century. We can do what we want as creatives. Is not necessarily going to be a boyfriend or a girlfriend. They may or may not be sexualized. But one thing is for certain, your protagonist will not be wholly dependent on him to make any decisions. She will be fully capable of doing anything that she wants to do. He will be an accessory. He will help her to look good. He will not make her as a character because she will already be the character, the badass that you, the creative, have created. Again, she will be gainfully employed. She will have a career, but that may not be a traditional form of employment. And by that, I mean, she may own a cannabis dispensary. That's non-traditional employment. And let's face it, right now is a very lucrative industry. Or she may be someone that does anything else that is illicit, but she will be successful at it. That's what you have to keep in mind. So you, the creative, some tricks to consider is right from experience. If you are a woman of color, write from what you have lived. How more accurate, how more immersive, and how more vivid could it be other than to write from what you experience every day? Use a conversational writing style. And the way you do that is to write from first person. Make your point of view first person. I, we, she, and then we. Also, focus on the intimate everyday. So again, because these stories, friendships and family are going to be integral and important, the intimate everyday could include something as insignificant as your primary character making it a point to call her mother every morning and ask her how was her morning cup of coffee. Also, some other things you want to consider, because you're writing for ethnic readers, don't sugarcoat racial issues. Again, write from what you experience. If you've experienced a racial insensitivity, it's never going to feel good. You're never going to feel sweet while it's happening. You're certainly not going to feel well after it has occurred. So please do not sugarcoat it. Usually, again, the ending will be a very good ending, but not necessarily a happy ending. It may include some narration that speaks to the harm of assimilation. You don't have to go into a deep diatribe. We're living it. We experience it, but you can touch on it. If your setting is a workplace, touch on the fact of how it feels when you get out of your car in the morning and you know that you are the only, and you have to go into this room or this building and deal with microaggression for the next 8 hours. Keep it real, keep it vivid. It may include racial reckoning. It does not have to, but it can. That's entirely up to you. The dialogue will always include disagreements. I did not say arguments. I said disagreements, because let's be honest, everyone, with your friends and family, not everything is peaches and cream. Not everything is cookies and milk. You're going to have disagreements with people. You're not necessarily going to have an all-out knockdown, drag out fist fight. Not everyone's going to draw a gun or bust a bottle open and want to cut someone's throat, but you're going to have disagreements. And if you are a strong woman yourself, you know that a protagonist is not always going to back down. You know that. So keep that in mind. Don't make her a punk butt. Keep her real. The dialogue will also include cultural references. So again, if you're writing as a Black woman, it is believable that you would go to a Mexican restaurant and have lunch. But you don't have to go into all of this great detail about what happened in the restaurant, because me as a Black woman reader, I am probably not going to focus that closely on the restaurant. Conversely, if you are a Latina writer and you go to a soul food restaurant and you're meeting a guy and it's your first experience with soul food, take the opportunity to just do a little bit of research. If you're going to use references to other cultures, do your research. Make it believable. Don't make it offensive. Make it believable. You want to draw your readers in. So I want to talk about creative influence. And by that, I want to talk about your starring role. So your boss babe, your protagonist, again, make her believable. And we all have done it. We've all sat back and played the when I get big game. Just think about when you were a young lady, what you thought your ideal job should be. Create that for your primary character. Take some time to create her, and not only her, the women and men that she interacts with and she has her friendships with. And something else I would like to point out that is also very believable in all minority communities. It is not uncommon for a straight woman to interact with or have friends that are LGBTQ. So if you're going to be diverse, don't be myopically diverse. Be as creatively diverse as you feel comfortable with, as you feel you have the time and opportunity to research and make your characters believable. But again, think about the culture that you live in, the society that you live in. You can be a church lady. Your primary character can be a church lady, but she can have a girlfriend that smokes weed, that she tells all her sordid secrets to. That is very believable. Not so troublesome man, not so troublesome men. It is worth it to point out that not every relationship that a strong woman has is with a guy who is mentally inferior to her. So if your character, your primary character, is going to have this dude in her life, Please make him compatible to her. Don't make her this boss babe with the great career and the awesome house, but she can only find a guy who is a drug dealer. That is very unfair, and it is also very stereotypical. And as creatives, we can create whatever we like, but we also are charged with breaking down a lot of stereotypes. Again, make it believable. Make it very believable. That includes your dialogue. Be true to how the characters relate with one another. Be true to how your primary character relates with peers and with superiors. Remember, the antagonist is not going to be necessarily an enemy, a physical enemy, or a person. It could be a corporation. It could be the fact that Roe versus Wade has been overturned. But what you also want to keep in mind is no character in your piece is going to serve as your protagonist's conscience. She has a conscience of her own. She doesn't need anyone else to tell her how to think, how to act, or how to perform. She knows what she wants to do at all times. She's not seeking advice, but she's not necessarily giving advice either. If you include church scenes and church settings, unless you're writing Christian fiction that is also chick lit, you probably want to limit it because, again, you are writing for your ideal audience. So if you can write Christian chick lit, if you're doing it, please let me know. I would be happy to read your book. I would love to. But if you're not writing from that angle or that genre, it is acceptable and believable that your character would attend church every Sunday. But is it believable that she will attend church 5 days a week? Just keep some things in mind. You also might want to limit the minority pearls and stereotypes. And definitely limit the "my man ain't shit" discourse in the dialogue that you create between your characters, because you want it to be believable. You want her to use, all of your characters to use confident verbs, and the narrative is always going to include all the characters growing and becoming better people, better women as they go along. I mentioned also about first person. That includes your description of your antagonist. Make sure that you include descriptions of the antagonist's desires. What does he or she have at risk or at stake? What is his or her character other than being a pain in the butt? What's his or her physical description? And make sure the descriptions are consistent all throughout the story. Make sure that the antagonist is active throughout the story. Like, they can't just sit at the barbershop and then come and sit on her sofa and then go and sit in the office. They also have to have some type of activity all throughout your story as well. And do not forget to include your conflict. There has to be some conflict. And you might want to include some intimacy. The intimacy doesn't necessarily have to include the protagonist having an intimate moment. It could be the antagonist having an intimate moment. But most of all, you might not want to make your antagonist such a villain. He or she will have flaws, but they should be likable. After all, everyone has a backstory and everyone can change. Me, the reader, my expectations, I know you're going to have co-stars. I know you're going to have secondary characters, but I don't want them to be so strong that they're going to overtake your protagonist. Remember that. I also know that you're going to have some conflict. And when I say artificial and potentially unintelligent, I mean, it could be something that isn't necessarily human. It could be, just as happened in Michigan a few years back, it could be the fact that the water is contaminated. It could be the fact that you find out, or the protagonist finds out, this new home that she built is on top of a sacred Indian burial ground. It could also be the conditions or the constraints that she's currently living through. It could be that your antagonist is the primary caregiver to a parent that has Alzheimer's, and she cannot afford to put the parent in an Alzheimer's facility. So, and that could create the conflict of, where does she get the money to make sure that her mother gets the care that she needs? So it doesn't necessarily have to include two minority women fighting over a man, two minority women competing for the same job. It doesn't have to, the conflict doesn't have to be between the women at all. It can be your protagonist against something that is so big and so inanimate that the average person will think there's no way she's going to win. But you, the creative, you've got to make it happen. Make us believe that she is going to win. And in summary, I will say once again, I want to have an awesome experience. I want the dialogue to be on point and stylish, true to what is going on right now today. And chick lit can be contemporary. You can write historical chick lit. If you're going to write it historically, again, do your research. If you're going to write chick lit and your character is in 1960 and she has a badass afro, that's fine. But remember, there were no shea products in 1960, but it was an awful lot of afro sheen. Please do your research. First things first, it's very easy if you write from a first person point of view. And if you write, as they tell us to, write what you know, write your experience. It should be easy to write from first person point of view. And I personally find writing very cathartic. So if I'm writing from first person point of view, I'm writing away some of the frustration that I've had to deal with all day, because I have been assimilated in this environment that isn't necessarily the enemy, but I have to get through it. After all, I have to live every day. And remember your intimacy. All friendships are intimate on some level. They're not necessarily romantic. They're not necessarily sexualized, but they definitely are intimate. And if you don't believe it, I invite you to take a few minutes out of your day every day and just document little teeny tiny things, little interactions that make you smile. And that could be something so simple as to see a butterfly. Intimate activities and interactions make for very good storytelling. And again, I'm Dondi Darcy. This was How to Write BIPOC Chick Lit, because she has it going on. And I hope you enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed the opportunity to present this afternoon. And I hope to see you all virtually again very soon.
In a world where creativity meets the digital age, one agency stands out from the rest. Welcome to Delphi Legacy Media. We are a team of passionate experts and creatives dedicated to elevating your brand to new heights.
I learned so much today. It was really inspiring hearing everyone speak about all their different experiences and getting together like authors and screenwriters. And I learned a lot from this.
Their creativity and expertise are second to none. But what sets us apart? We tailor our services to fit your unique needs. Whether you're an author, a business owner, or an artist, our services include interviews, media tours, book tours, and speaking engagements, all designed to put your brand in the spotlight. Are you an artist that seeks to obtain more media, headline your own book tour, or adapt a film? Or perhaps you need media training to best prepare yourself. Whatever it may be, we can manage it. Picture your brand in the limelight. Picture your brand in the limelight. Your vision realized. At Delphine Legacy Media, we're partners in your success. Ready to take your brand to the next level? Contact us today. Delphine Legacy Media, where creativity meets success.